The blessings that we share in this country to a large extent come from the obedience of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and those blessings were passed down to them, and then following those blessings being passed to them, they were passed on, and presently, about 4,000 years later, we still enjoy those blessings. Now, there was quite a long period of time when the people of Israel did not enjoy those blessings, but the people of our country today have had those blessings passed down to them, and we still enjoy them. I thought I would take a little time here in the sermonette, and it'll relate to the sermon as well, and discuss some of the sources of the blessings that we have. The blessings first came to Abraham, and then they were passed on to Isaac. From Isaac, they were passed on to Esau, who was the firstborn of Isaac's children, but he sold his birthright. He didn't value it. He sold it to Jacob. From Jacob, it passed to Reuben, and Reuben lost the birthright through incest, and it came to Judah. It was divided, and half of it went to Judah, and the other half went to Joseph. So I'd like to look at how the blessings of Abraham were transferred from Joseph. Now, we went quickly through that family history until we get to Joseph, but I want to look at how they were transferred from Joseph to us today. Genesis chapter 12 and verse 1, this is where we find the blessings of God being initially given to Abraham. This isn't the full story, but it's the beginning of when God first promised blessings to Abraham. Genesis chapter 12 and verse 1. The Lord had said to Abraham, to Abram, it's not Abraham yet, sorry, my mistake there. His name is Abram. Later on, as part of the blessing, his name was changed from Abram to Abraham. Abram simply meant father, and when it was changed to Abraham, part of the blessing, the name Abraham meant not just father, but father of many nations. And we sit in one of those nations today. The Lord had said to Abram, now this sort of pops up here, no apparent previous contact with Abram, but apparently there had been, but he said, "Get thee out of your country and from your kindred, from your father's house, unto a land that I will show you." He said, get up and leave. I'm going to show you where to go. I'm not telling you where it is, but as we go, I will show you the way. Now, it's called a great act of faith in Hebrews that Abram, to become Abraham, did exactly as God asked him to do. And he said, it's conditional. At this point, it is a conditional blessing. It is not unconditional. Later on, after some demonstration over some significant number of years of his faith, God made the blessing to Abraham unconditional. But here, it's conditional. He says, get up and leave, and I will make of you a great nation. That is, assuming you do as I tell you. And I will bless you, blessings of Abraham, and make your name great. And you shall be, or you shall become, future tense, again, conditional on his obedience, a blessing. And here's one of the great blessings that we share today. I will bless them that bless you. When I've looked in my life, I've remembered this promise, which it became unconditional at a later time. I've looked at this promise and I've seen how many times apparently God has intervened to bless me. And so this blessing, this promise to Abraham was passed down now for 4,000 years, and I am the beneficiary of that. Should have been maybe thinking about that a little bit on Thanksgiving today, and being thankful for it, which I was involved in all my other things instead of that. I will bless them that bless you, and curse him that cursed you. I never wanted God to curse anybody, but I've seen some bad things happen to some people who've been, antagonistic toward myself and my family. And in you, to Abraham, shall all the families of the earth be blessed. And we see those blessings, and on Thanksgiving Day, it's a good time to consider those blessings. We come down to, after Abraham comes Isaac. Isaac received the blessings of Abraham. Esau received them, didn't keep them very long, sold them as though they were, and for only a bowl of beans. He sold the blessings for a bowl of beans. I don't know that I really believe that it's possible to sell that kind of endowment from God. It's an endowment from God, but he sold it, and God apparently really was unhappy with that, so he did transfer from Esau to Jacob those blessings. Now, Jacob is of course, the father of the 12 tribes, had his name changed from Jacob to Israel. Jacob means thief, essentially. That's the meaning of the name. He was considered a thief because he took the blessings of Esau in a deceptive way. But God honored that transfer. Later on, he became known as Israel. And Israel, again, he had 2 name changes in his life. I don't know how many people have had 2 name changes in their life, but he had a second name change first name change was from Jacob to Israel. No, it's just one name change, isn't it? From thief to one who prevails with God. And so then he had 12 sons. He's the father of the 12 tribes of Israel, the 12 tribes of Israel, of which the United States is basically considered to be one of those 12 descendants of Israel. It comes from then Joseph, or Israel, down to, first of all, Reuben, who violates commandment of God, and he loses his birthright. Judah and Joseph end up with the 2 halves of the birthright. Judah is the one to whom was promised the coming of Jesus Christ. That's the half of the birthright that he got. To Joseph, the wealth was promised, and that primarily is Britain and the United States. Genesis chapter 48. Here's how that blessing was then transferred to the descendants of Joseph. The father, Israel, was on his deathbed. He called in Joseph and Joseph's two sons, Ephraim and Manasseh, because he wanted to bless them before he died. He wanted to pass these blessings of God on to those two in particular as he died. When Joseph, Genesis chapter 48, verse 17, Joseph brought the two boys in, and Israel was going to bless them, and he crossed his hands. Now, normally, the firstborn got the blessing on the right hand, and the other blessing went on the left hand. And so Joseph had brought the boys and lined them up in front of his father so that Manasseh, who was the oldest, would be on his father's right hand. And so he's now going to put his hands on their head. At least Joseph thought he was going to put his hands on their head like this. He didn't put his hand on their head like that. He crossed his hands. Now he's got the younger on his right hand. He was not supposed to receive the greatest blessing. And here's the one who is the oldest, firstborn, who should receive the greatest blessing on his left hand. And this is what he said. When Joseph saw that his father laid his right hand upon the head of Ephraim, it displeased. He said, "Whoa, wait a minute, you got it wrong. You got it wrong, Dad. There, you got to put your hands, uncross your hands." It displeased him. He's trying to correct his father there. He held up his father's hand to remove it from Ephraim's head unto Manasseh's head. Once in a while, Brian does that to me. He tells me, "You're wrong about something." Usually he's right, but in this case, Joseph tried to tell Israel that he was wrong. Joseph said to his father, "Don't do it that way, for this is the firstborn. Put your right hand upon his head." His father refused and said, "I know it, my son. I know it. He also shall become a people, and he also shall be great. But truly his younger brother shall be greater than he, and his seed shall become a multitude of nations." And so you see the British Commonwealth of Nations being referred to there, and a single great nation as well. And he blessed them that day, saying, "In you shall Israel bless, saying, God make you as Ephraim and Manasseh." And he set Ephraim before Manasseh. And Israel said unto Joseph, "Behold, I die, but God shall be with you and bring you again to the land of your fathers." So those blessings were passed on, it's close to 4,000 years ago, to those two boys, and the descendants of those boys still have those blessings today. We sit here in this nation as proof of the fact that God has given those blessings to us. The blessings of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So when I prayed the prayer last night, I thanked God. Thanksgiving dinner prayer. I didn't really put my preparation into Thanksgiving as I should have, but I held on to that one fact that we were celebrating the blessings from Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob that had been passed on, and we saw the incredible abundance which kings of the earth haven't eaten like we eat, on an occasion like this. They just never have until this era. And we have that abundance that God has given to us. It's not an accident. It is a gift from God because not of our obedience. We're really a disobedient people and a disobedient nation as God looks at it. And the scriptures make that clear. But nevertheless, he is fulfilling the commitment and the promise that he made to Abraham to bless his descendants. And so that's what we think about when we think about Thanksgiving. Those blessings have been handed to us. And it is a time for us to be thankful. We'll look at a little bit more of some of these things in the sermon.